Let's call that 10 and say that I'm out of time there because I forgot to start the timer. Check, check. Nicki Minaj recently made an appearance at Turning Point USA convention, an onstage appearance, which is a very bigoted and conservative place for a person like Nicki Minaj to appear. Though, I can't say that it was a shock to me. Crazy headline with Nicki Minaj in it. She's been on some weird shit for a couple of years now. I just accept that as part of who she is. And I wasn't so invested in the first place, except for during Starships, because that was an incredible era. 2, 3, pass the Bud Light, bad bitches like me, it's hard to come by, right? That being said, the most disturbing part of this is that I feel like it's really fucked up to start appealing to white Christian nationalism and also have a voice acting credit on Steven Universe. Like, that just really fucks up a lot of the feng shui. I'm going to be honest with you. That you're taking calls from Donald Trump and Rebecca Sugar at the same time. That's like, so what a spiral in moral character. Anyway, hey guys, if I time this right, then that means that this episode is coming out around Christmas time. Like Christmas. It is Christmas probably. And Merry Christmas to you. I want you to close your eyes and take a moment to appreciate the sacrifice that someone's Lord and Savior made for some of us to be here today. You know what I mean? To absolve us all of our lives of sin. And in honor of that big holy man in the sky and all the things that he believes, I want to talk to you about homosexual erotica. Have you guys been watching Heated Rivalry? Hey, my name is Woodland Pierreville. This is 10 at a Time, the short long form show, and thank you for being here. Wrote an intro. There is no intro. Guys, so this Heated Rivalry thing. This Heated Rivalry thing is all that I see on my phone. Every time I open my phone, it's Heated Rivalry this, erotica that, they're having sex on screen. Okay, don't listen to this episode around your kids. Here's how I got introduced to the Heated Rivalry lore. As you guys know, I was just doing a play in Washington, D.C., and I'm working hard doing my track. I'm working hard. I'm busting my ass on the stage. I look off stage right, and I notice that one of my stage managers is reading a book. I'm like, okay, well, I'm glad that your track is so chill, I guess. I'm glad you're just hanging out. I'm just kidding. My track was really chill. I only had like 20 minutes. So I approach her and I'm like, hey, what are you reading? She says, it's this book called Heated Rivalry. I'm like, oh, what's it about? She says, it's about these hockey players and they're kind of in love and they kind of hate each other, but they're in the NHL. And I was like, okay. So these two men who happen to be gay in the NHL also happen to have a very passionate, heated feeling about the other, like of hatred about the other person in the NHL that happens to be gay, and they haven't come to the conclusion that it's actually like a deep, like a love, a yearning, a longing. They haven't come to that conclusion. It's like a will they, won't they? She's like, yeah, it's kind of like that. I'm like, okay, interesting. I will add that to my TBR. So then I get home, I turn on the TV, I turn on the Roku, I see a banner, Heated Rivalry. Damn, that's two out of 3. Shit. This thing is everywhere. I thought it was just a book. It's already been adapted. That's why she was reading the book. Okay, cool. So, cut to, I'm on FaceTime with my girlfriend. And I'm doing, I'm like doing something on my phone. The FaceTime is on my laptop. And through the laptop, I hear, I shit you not, 5 minutes of relentless moaning. Breath, panting, grunting, smacking, you know what I mean? Wet. I'm like, what the fuck? By minute 4, I said, girl, what are you watching? Are you watching softcore? She's like, no, it's a new show called Heated Rivalry. Okay, I see it's really got the girls jumping for real. Mind you, my girlfriend, Steph is kind of always looking for any show where there is any pair of white boys. They don't have to be white necessarily. That just seems to be how the genre always turns out. Any pair of white boys who are kissing, like holding hands, you know what I mean, under the table, like that, you know what I mean? She really, really loved Heartstoppers and made me watch that also. I was like, I don't know that Two Boys in Liverpool who are trying to come out the closet in high school is something that I relate to, but fuck it. It was a great show. Had a great time. You know, wouldn't have tapped in traditionally, but it turned out great. Heated Rivalry is more my speed, but, it was a busy season for me. That was not an acceptable answer to my girlfriend. Knowing that I had just ended this contract in DC, I got back to New York and then I went back to Florida to check on things with my family. And then I got back to New York. Her sister got engaged to her girlfriend. You know what I mean? I'm taking pictures at the engagement, so on and so forth. I've been away from home for like 4 months. I'm getting back into my routine. Even still, the other day, she looked at me and said, "You have never loved me in the entire time of our relationship. The fact that I could ask you to show up for something that means so much to me and that you would neglect it this long." I said, "Heated Rivalry?" She's like, "You never cared about me." I said, "Okay, fine. Okay, I'll watch it." So we're watching Survivor. Okay. We're watching Survivor. Mind you, it's the Survivor finale. And while we're here, I do just want to say about Survivor. Savannah, winning season. Winning season. Winning. So I tell you, I told y'all last episode, I told you last time we talked that this is going to be the season of winners. And Savannah from Survivor, you already heard about Whitney Levitt. I already talked to you about Whitney Levitt. Savannah from Survivor, that's another winner on the fucking checklist, dude. Savannah from Survivor spent the whole season with her back up against a wall. You know when somebody is so good, so talented, so overpowering, so dominant, so much better than everyone else that it actually circles back to making them an underdog because the coalition of dweebs is teaming up against them? That's what the fuck Savannah had going on during Survivor this season, Survivor 49. So good that they're going to bring her back for Survivor 50 because she won the shit. Wasn't even no competition. It was so bad that the people on the jury during Survivor 49 had to start gunning for Savannah, asking her silly ass questions. This one lady, Christina, mind you, I'm not even trying to do too much on Christina, but Christina, was a fuck ass question that you asked Savannah. Savannah, everybody is asking the last 3 players of the Survivor camp, right? They're like, name one strategic move that you did that we wouldn't know about. Name one time that you navigated a situation like that. Christina's gonna pick up the mic and ask Savannah, "I noticed that your social game was the weakest part of your game, of your strategy here. Name one family member from everyone in the room right now." That was so fucking lame and stupid and corny. Christina, just say you don't want that girl to win. What the fuck do you mean? We've been here for 30 days. Most of you I have not even seen in 14 of those days, and I didn't share an island with initially. How the fuck would you expect me starved, exhausted, dirty? You know what I mean? Haven't eaten shit but coconut in days. How the fuck would you expect me to go down the list and name a family member from each one of these people, all of whom I barely know in the first place? What a dumb ass. I just fucking hated that shit because I was like, you're just trying to throw an obstacle to block the path of a true winner, and it'll never work because the girl's resume was actually so fucking crazy. So crazy. The only person that even could have come close to beating Savannah. Sorry, and some people are like, "Oh yeah, Sophie came close to beating Savannah." The only way someone was like, "Oh yeah, Sophie, who was the other woman who was in the final 3." So they were like, "Sophie would have beaten Rizzo." The only way Sophie could have beaten Rizzo is if people just said, "Fuck the game, fuck the resume, fuck the whatever, I'm going off vibes." The only way Sophie could have won is if neither Savannah nor Rizzo was in the final 3, and if people were going off vibes and just liked Sophie's personality, they thought she was cute and bubbly. Because Rizzo played an incredible. He actually played a game-changing, like a culture-changing game this season of Survivor. I'm talking about this kid, R-I-Z-G-O-D, Riz God, the man, the myth, the legend, Riz Baby, Riz Junior, Riz God. His name is Rizzo, Albanian kid. You know about these New York Albanians. They're in the fucking cut. That's one thing I know about the New York Albanians. They do not play. They're about this money. They're about that squalor. They're hungry. That's what I like about Rizzo. That little nigga's hungry, dog. I respect that shit. This nigga came to Survivor, can't do a puzzle, can't lift a weight, can't run a mile, can't swim, can't nothing. But he can manipulate. He's a master manipulator. And I mean that in the most like aggrandizing way. A master manipulator. And there's no other place where it's appropriate to be a master of manipulation other than Survivor, where you have to outplay, outwit, outlast. And Rizzo could only do one of those things. Outwit. That this kid had a hidden immunity idol. In Survivor, a hidden immunity idol means whenever you go to tribal council, you can choose to play it at any time, and any votes that you might have to evict to kick you off the island, once you've played it, don't count anymore. So they're the next person with the next highest number of votes goes home. This kid, usually in Survivor, anyone who's playing smart knows, flush the idol, flush the idol, flush the idol. Force the person who has the immunity idol to play it. Force them to play it so that it's not in the game anymore, so that the next person can have an opportunity to find it, right? Because once an idol gets used, it goes back out into the forest, into the wilderness, into the ecosystem, and someone else can find it, right? But anyway, flush the idol. Flush the idol. Bro, this kid held the idol for 9 weeks. Psyching people out. Am I going to use it? Am I going to not? Am I going to use it? Am I going to not? And he never did. And they never tried to fly. It was insane, dude. Masterful. Him and Savannah in a clutch ass duo, bro. In a clutch duo. It was one of the most spectacular. Now, mind you, last season of Survivor, they also had a very spectacular girl boy tag team duo final 2. It's just my favorite trope. Anyway. Sorry, that's all tangential. We're watching the Survivor finale. And Steph says, whatever happens, whatever's going on in this finale, once we get to midnight, I have to put my show on. I have to put my softcore erotica pornography on. I say, okay, whatever you say. Cool, I'm down. Midnight comes. We finish the finale. She turns the show on, right? I'm kind of half paying attention because I don't really know anything about it and I'm doing some work on the side, right? And then I look up and I see, oh, okay, this nigga's in Russia. Oh, it's a funeral? His dad? Oh, shit, he's beating the shit out that guy. Who is that guy? Oh, that's his brother? This is episode 5 of Heated Rivals. The episode that just dropped. By the time I'm watching this, the season finale hasn't come out yet. This is the penultimate episode of the season. I'm like, damn, he's beating the shit out. Like, who is that? Is his brother? Oh, he owes his brother money? Oh, his brother owes him money. His dad just died? All this shit. I said, this is a hockey player? Episode 5 of Heated Rivals has a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. Do I think 100% is a little high? Yeah, I think 100% is a little high. There are episodes of Attack on Titan that don't even have 100%. There's no episode, you know what I mean? My Hero Academia, my go-to, my inspiration, my muse, like John Safdie said, Uncut Gems, doesn't even have a 100 on Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes is a fan-made score, you know, and I think people are just loving it. I would give it a 9. I would give it a 9 out of 10. But a 10 out of 10, not even a 10.5, not a 10.7, not a 10.8, a 10 out of 10, we're dragging it a bit. That being said, episode 5 was enough to hook me on the entire show. I went back and watched all of it from beginning to that point. Having seen it all, I still wouldn't give it a 10, but I would give it a high 9. One of the things that really had me hung up on giving this episode a 10 out of 10 is that in episode 5 of Heated Rivalries, I heard one of the worst French accents I think I've ever heard in my entire life, to the point where I'm like, maybe it wasn't even French. Let's ask the audience.
Hey, did you hear about Rosanna?
What about Rosanna?
He did not fly with the rest of the team to Nashville.
Two separately?
ESPN is just saying he did not go to Nashville.
I'm asking you, the guy in the locker room that was like, oh yeah, Ilya Rosanov, I think that he was not on the plane to go back to Kansas with his... What the fuck was that? They gave that guy so many lines in such a bad accent. I was shocked, dude. And then the other thing is, these are some of the worst in the closet guys I've ever seen in my entire life. These guys suck at being in the closet. Dude, why are we having phone sex while you're home in Russia for your dad's funeral? What the fuck do you mean you're confessing your love for me while you're in Russia? Do you know that this is a surveillance state? And that's one thing that I think that the show is actually supplementing some of the romantic tension with like closet paranoia. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, dude, wait till you're back in the States, home of the brave, land of the free, before you start confessing fucking love. You don't know who Vladimir Putin is tapped on your phone line. You're a superstar. They're gonna get you, brother. I'm glad that the show isn't really that kind of show. Like that's not really an active part of the drama in the show that like people are gonna like get deeply in trouble. But it just made me anxious. I hate watching a show where people are not low key. Last time I talked to you guys about Gen V. Remember we talked about Gen V and I was like, why are these kids acting like this isn't a fucking surveillance state and like they're not like domestic terrorists who are being surveilled? Like Homelander isn't like fucking watching the sky. What? Why does the show play and toggle on and off when they need to be, have discretion and when they don't? And so this was kind of that, not to that degree, not to the degree of Gen V, because that's such a large scale. But even here, I'm like, damn, these guys are not being very secret at all. Y'all need to really keep it. Hey, and at the end of the day, be who you are for your pride. You know what I'm saying? I don't want you to have to be in that closet, but if that's the choice you're going to make, and if you're telling me that that's what's important to you, I'm going to be looking at you sideways when, baby, we're on the rooftop. You're making out on the rooftop. There's cameras at big ass windows on the. I'm thinking they're Taylor Swift famous. You need to close the blinds. We'll get to that later. All you need to know is by the time we got to, I'm coming to the cottage, I was locked the fuck in. Let's call that 10 and say that I'm out of time there because I forgot to start the timer. So let's get into it. I want to talk about Scott Hunter first. And the timer starts now. Scott Hunter in Heated Rivalry is he plays hockey for the New York Rangers. Don't quote me on that. He plays for the New York hockey team. I think they are the Rangers. And he's old as shit. Old head hockey player. That's how they talk about him. Old head hockey player. Like his time is maybe come and gone because he's not having a great season by the time we get to this. So episode 3 of Heated Rivalries, it's very like meanwhile, you know what I mean? An entire episode that cuts out an entire different part of the world. When I watched episode 5, all I knew is that at the end of the episode, this old ass hockey player man that they've been talking shit about the whole episode suddenly comes out, brings a man onto the ice with him from the crowd, pulls a man from the crowd onto the ice with him. They kiss on the ice. The crowd goes crazy. Right? Ilya and Shane call each other immediately. I'm coming to the college. So I'm saying, who is this guy that kissed a man on the ice? What I think is interesting is that he kissed that man on the ice and the crowd went crazy. I said, are y'all in Canada right now? Because this is 2017. The show spans so many years from like 2011 to 2017. It's 6 years that they fill into 5 episodes. Okay, cool. So the crowd goes crazy. Is this New York? I think that's a bit optimistic because 2017 was crazy. And I know that as a person who lived in America in 2017, I'm not gonna lie. But even me personally, you know what I mean? Even me personally, I love to see shit like that. But if I was at a fucking hockey game and one of the team captains of the hockey team that's been a public figure in one of the straightest, most masculine spaces like on earth pulled a man onto stage and kissed him, even I don't know that I could muster a scream of support. My jaw would drop. I wouldn't be able to breathe. You could hear a pin drop out of someone's asshole if that shit happened IRL. I'm literally trying to think, damn, what if Steph Curry won the NBA championship and then pulled the man? I'm like, Steph Curry's married, but imagine he wasn't married. I don't know, Carmelo Anthony. I feel like it's kind of like the presidency where like you actually can't reach that kind of status unless you have a wife. She doesn't have to be super visible, but like it's just something that people care about. I don't fucking know, you know, like the president has to have a wife. The president has to have kids or else people won't vote for him. I don't know, right? But it's like, imagine Steph Curry was a bachelor. Steph Curry wins the NBA championship and is the team captain of the Thunder, pulls the Golden State, you know, wherever Steph Curry's at, fuck it, pulls a man onto the NBA court and they kiss. Not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. Oh my gosh, dude, I would not have shit to say, but people would have shit to say. And that's another thing too. I mean, like, look, it's all a very Caucasian fantasy. If this was the NBA and it was black people, you know, the shade room and the Twitter, and who gonna be the boys, it would not bode well. Truly would not have shit to say because it's dead ass like, are you gay? And then after are you gay, it's, well, who the fuck is that? And then after who the fuck is that, it's a barista? What? And also now that I've seen the whole context of the show, I'm thinking, how did Kip get here? How did they broke up? Why was Kip even at the game? But those are logistics. Those are logistics. What broke my heart was watching Scott put socks over his banana socks, which was a visual metaphor for the covering of his own love and identity. Oh, heated rivalry. I see what you did there. Good. Here's my thing. My thing with Kip and with Scott Hunter. Kip goes into Scott Hunter's smoothie bar. No, Scott Hunter goes into Kip's smoothie bar and orders a smoothie. Kip gives him a recommendation. He gets the smoothie. He wins the game. He comes back to the smoothie bar for what we see maybe 4 more times over the course of their early relationship. And then they end up at a charity event where Kip is a server and Scott is a guest. Scott asks him to go to dinner after. The restaurant is packed. Scott invites him back to his fucking luxury bachelor pad condo. They don't even really talk at all anymore before they start to fuck. And then suddenly Scott is confessing his love for Kip, a man that he has barely talked to about anything other than smoothies and what he wants from the catering. So this is kind of a larger problem, not problem, but a larger thing that I'm feeling with Heated Rivalry. Please explain to me why these people like each other. I would like to see more of why people like each other, other than the fact that they just both happen to be gay in the same room. You know what I'm saying? I actually think that there's a lot of conversation about the representational quality of what's happening in Heated Rivalry, and I actually think that is the one thing that I'm like, this is a bit reductive. That I'm like, do they like each other just because they happen to be gay in proximity? Why do these people like each other? Can we see Kip telling Scott about his dream to go to grad school and how hard he's been applying? Can they talk about something real? Because these niggas don't know each other. And the thing about it, aside from the fact that they don't know each other, you want to be Jonathan Bailey so fucking bad. You want this to be the bane of my existence and the object of all my desires so fucking bad, and it'll never be that, and it'll never be that, and it'll never be that. You never even earned that. You're not Jonathan Bailey. You'll never be Jonathan Bailey. It'll never be that, bro. That was generational, and we'll never have it again. If you weren't there the first time, you'll never get the chance, motherfucker, because you had to feel that shit in real time when it dropped. Oh my gosh. Oh, Bridgerton. I mean, the entire reason that I can even tap into the romance genre with Heated Rivalry this way is because Bridgerton made all things possible. I believe in love in a different way thanks to Bridgerton, not season 1, but season 2. I told y'all about it the first time. And there's some shit about Heated Rivalry in general that reminds me of Bridgerton, but this particular section of I need you so bad. Cut that shit. Bring the next guy in. And by the next guy, I mean the first guy, Jonathan. Oh my God. One thing that I do want to say, besides that you're not Jonathan Bailey and Kip is not Simone Ashley. Simone Ashley, I love you forever. The whole Sharma family. Here's the thing. I got on TikTok the other day and I saw people talking about, damn, I didn't know India had baddies, because people went to they saw clips from a Tyla concert in India. And they were like, damn, the women in the crowd are bad. Mind you, Tyla herself is a woman of Indian descent. That aside, you didn't know India had baddies? You don't know what they have over there because you haven't seen Bridgerton season 2. And that's the problem, is that you haven't looked up from your own nutsack to see what's around you in the world. When we talk about every country, every region, every nationality, every race, and what their natural resources are, the South, hey, and it's not really about what's over there. It's about the fact that they look like all of us, you know? Everyone wants to talk about the worldwide Latina belt, you know what I mean? All these girls, they look, a baddie from Houston, a Haitian Dominican, an Ethiopian, an Indian woman from the state of Kerala, all get the same silk press. One of them's poison pick. Which one? You don't even know. You're dead on the floor. You could never pick them out from the crowd. You could never. They all look like your auntie. And your auntie's fat. Your auntie's bad shit. Your auntie's fine as shit too. Go put your auntie on the. I don't know where this is going. Anyway, I want to keep it respectful for the most part. Because I have obligations and promises that I've made. I'm a man of my honor. Yeah, the Scott Hunter of it all. I thought it was a fun part of the show. I honestly think that was the best part of episode 5. And I understand why we had to do episode 3 in order to get to episode 5 and for that to really land. And I understand that episode 3 could only be an hour long, but I just needed a bit more time, a bit more development, because he's just your smoothie guy. He's just your smoothie guy. And I get it if you guys fuck. I get why Kip is into it. Kip is like 50 Shades of Grey type shit. This fucking millionaire invited me into his bachelor pad. He said, don't speak, let's just fuck. And now he says he loves me. For me, in my world, I'm like, that sounds like some shit that could happen to me also. And I would also not reject it because, of course, that's normal in my life. But I'm like, wait, someone here should be asking a couple more questions. Someone here should be asking a few more questions. You haven't seen your family in months? You abandoned your father's home to live in the house of a man you don't know? This shit could go left in a second, be a horror movie. I feel like somebody. And when it happened in Bridgerton, these confessions of love in Bridgerton, we had spent episodes building up with the tension of touching hands. Pride and Prejudice type shit. Let's move on. We're going to start the timer again, and I want to talk about Jordan Firstman and the drama happening on the HBO lot because what the fuck? Here's the thing. I don't know who Jordan Firstman is. I don't. I had to look it up, and I found out that he was a TikTok guy. I looked at some of his TikToks. I was like, oh, this is the guy that does the impressions. I don't know what happened between then and now. How did he become a guy who is friends with Rachel Sennott and gets cast in her HBO original? I have no idea what fills the gap, but apparently people do not like him. I don't have an opinion on him much either here nor there. He does seem the way he seems. Hey, and that's just the truth. But I'm a guy with a podcast and I yell half the time about ridiculous shit. I'm not really in the place to judge how people come across through their internet personas. I hope that mine is enjoyable. Amen. Amen. But Jordan Firstman had an interview with Vulture, and I imagine that it was meant to be, press for him, press for the show. I love LA. And instead of focusing on himself and the positive shit that he had going on, for some reason, Jordan Firstman, I don't know, veers left. The interviewer asks him about queer representation in things like Heated Rivalry. And Jordan Firstman says that it's not gay enough. He says it's clearly two straight men. He says that it's not authentic, and that what is authentic is gay shit that happens in his own bedroom. And he talks about how, something that happens in, I guess, I Love LA, which is that he has sex with someone, and when they come, they both said, not clock it. What'd they say? They said that part. They both say that part. And that's very gay to him. Is using black catchphrases when you finish with your partner. The politics of like appropriating a black catchphrase and that you using that as like an affirmation of your white gay identity. Let's put that on the shelf for now, because that might be the low hanging fruit here. I actually think that what Jordan Firstman was saying and questioning the authenticity of what's happening in Heated Rivalry, because I think it's pretty public knowledge that the men who are cast in the show as the two leads, who are very gay and very in love in the show, are not openly gay in their personal lives. So I think that what Jordan Firstman is alluding to, which is a culture of, not necessarily these two, but a culture of straight actors using queer characters as prestige roles to build their own resumes and like appropriating these identities for their own professional gain. I think the question at the center of it is valid. I do. I think that we don't like Jordan Firstman, and by we I mean you. I don't fucking know. He's a can of paint to me. I think that people don't like Jordan Firstman. And also I think that the way that he has the conversation is quite inappropriate. And also I think that it's a losing game, because you're talking about a hit show on the same network that your show is on, right? And there's a rabid fan base. And also it's like the people you're talking about are younger than you. Like, it's just, I think that there are a lot of other parts of it that feel like it's not the most appropriate way to begin the conversation, and he's not the appropriate vessel for the conversation. But the center of the question is a reasonable question. It's a conversation that we should have because it's about authenticity in our representation. You know what I mean? I just think that like questioning people's queer identities and their validity to show up in certain spaces in 2025 is a bit much, especially since the last time we did this was with Kit Connor, and that blew up in everybody's face. Everybody looked stupid. Kit Connor was the lead actor of Heartstoppers, who, you know, was kind of compelled to come out of the closet because he was facing a lot of backlash because people were like, are you gay or are you not? That being said, the Heartstoppers of it all, maybe there was room because in that show, you're kind of, I mean, it was like they were like giving each other looks and maybe touching hands and maybe so much and so forth. So maybe it would be, you know, the idea of who's cashing that check for the light lifting of what it was for the gay representation. That's valid. Heated Rivalry. How do I say this? In terms of Heated Rivalry, we are actually seeing so fucking much that, you know, it gets to a point when I'm like, maybe the representation is being represented. I think we're well past what needs to be represented in terms of the representation and questioning these people's individual identities. These boys are butt naked, cheeks out, skin to skin, doing the Watusi slide across 3 fade to black cutscenes in 4 positions for 15% of the show's runtime. I actually think we've overrepresented in some ways. Hey, at some way, and so, it gets to a point when the question might actually be a bit redundant. The question of is this accurate representation? They're literally fucking on screen. So like, I don't know how much gayer you could want it to be because they're doing actually the most gay thing that you can do, which is be 2 men having sex. Like a lot, like hard and a lot and often. You know, this isn't like I'm not sure. Like they kind of allude to it. I've seen the freckles on that boy's crack. Like I think the function is served. I think the function is served. Again, that doesn't, for me, invalidate Jordan Firstman's right as a gay man himself, a very publicly gay man doing a parallel. Again, that doesn't like nullify or invalidate Jordan Firstman's right as a very publicly gay man having a similar career or in a similar career trajectory as these 2 young actors in Heated Rivalry. I don't think that invalidates Jordan Firstman's right to like have that question. Was a Vulture interview the best time and place for that question? I don't think HBO would think so. And clearly they didn't think so because they like concocted this PR cleanup where they sent the actor that plays Hollander, the actor that plays Shane Hollander, they sent him to this like Christmas charity event with the cast of I Love LA. He's standing next to Jordan Firstman. They're playing nice, right? There's this whole PR machine thing that has to happen because of what Jordan Firstman said. And, you know, the creator of the show, Heated Rivalry, has said that Jordan Firstman has reached out to apologize. He's apologizing to the cast. His cast is reaching out to apologize on his behalf. Like clearly, you know, everyone understands that some wires got crossed here. It would have been best to maybe avoid the thing altogether. But while we're having the conversation, like I think the thing to me is, okay, let's say that these 2 guys are totally straight. Let's say they're totally straight, right? And one of them, I think, totally went private or like unfollowed a bunch of like people from his personal life on Instagram, and I think that some people were speculating that was to hide his identity. I think it's because like people get weird. I think it's because a lot of these like gay romance shows, the audience is meant to be queer people, but also the audience is women. Like I think like young girls are they think this stuff is like fucking ravishing, right? And so that demographic, if you don't want your girlfriend to end up on someone's like Tumblr feed or something like that, like if you don't want your girlfriend to get a death threat and you know that you're about to be the new lead of a Bridgerton season, like maybe you should private her. Hold on, that was 10. I'm gonna run the clock back. This is today's 20. Smash that button. This is today's 20. I'm going to run the clock back. Like, maybe if you don't want your girlfriend to receive harassment and death threats, you should distance yourself from her digitally so that people can't find her if you know you're going to be the lead of a new Bridgerton season. Like, that's what I would personally do. It's too late for me. It's too late for me. Everyone has already seen that beautiful woman. Anyway. But yeah, let's say these two guys totally are straight, right? Or like maybe let's say they never come forward and never come out of the closet and never whatever. Like that's really the thing, is that we don't really know the nitty gritty details of what everyone's identity is. For Jordan Firstman to assert that like the way that he relates to and engages with and interacts with his own gayness and his own queerness should be like a barometer for other people's identities, it just I think that idea around representation mattering and how it matters and how it needs to matter kind of asserts its own monolith, right? You inherently flatten what gay gets to be, because gay has to look like a specific version of gay, a specific type of gay, and relate to specific gay people. I mean, Jordan Firstman, you are gay in a totally different way than these like two fictional young athletes with high profile careers in a very masculine sport living lives where everyone assumes that they're straight because they pass for straight. Like those are very, very different things. Also, you as an adult who is very proud and open and knowledgeable about your own identity, it's a very different experience from these two fictional characters, how they show up in their identities that they're not sure about. I mean, that's something that Shane talks about. He's like, episode 5, after he spent multiple years fucking this guy, he's like, I think I'm gay. Holy shit. Yeah. Okay. Well, take your time, buddy. Another layer of that is that I found this out in the book. And in the show, they don't talk about it explicitly in the show that I remember, but something that I know that the cast is playing with and that the creative team is playing with because it's written in the books. Shane Hollander, his character is autistic. And the actor has talked about being inspired by his own father's autism and like using that to, flesh out the details of how he wants to portray that. But that's an invisible disability. I mean, I'm sure there are some people that should say that the role should go to an autistic actor, but this is what I'm saying. You can create a world where creative people only get to show up in places where their identities 100% align. You can create that world. That is also a world of forced disclosure and surveillance. And if the cost of fighting against hyper-surveillance means that not every actor in every show is going to 100% identify and align with the things that they're representing, and maybe there's some suspension of disbelief, whatever. I think that's kind of part of the thing that we're doing here in Hollywood or in acting or whatever. I think that's kind of part of it in the first place, but also B, I think that that's a worthy cost to pay so that people don't, like, so that privacy isn't the cost of employment. You know what I'm saying? So that surveillance isn't the cost of employment, that you have to, be a case file every time you audition for something. It's about like checking the boxes of your identity, and that is a world where this type of messiness happens, right? Where actors who haven't fully disclosed where their identity markers are end up in places and we're not sure, and there's speculation, there's chatter. Okay, cool. That's a type of messy that I would prefer to an expansion of surveillance culture for me personally. So if we're talking about how representation matters and authentic representation matters, but authentic representation only gets to look like the things that Jordan Firstman identifies as authentic, I think that we're flattening the very diverse ways that all of us can show up in our very different identities in very different times, periods, backgrounds, whatever. And then B, I think that kind of disclosure culture is surveillance, and I don't fuck with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, everybody just do what you do, and I don't need to really know all that shit about you, especially if it's I don't like the question itself. Is this show gay enough? As these two dudes are fucking railing each other, bro. Let's get a little serious. We're a couple of camera pans away from like needing an OnlyFans subscription to watch this show. I think it's gay enough. Whatever these dudes do in their personal lives, I think it's gay enough. And I think the way that they're telling the story is compassionate. I think it's kind. I think it's humanizing. I think that the way they're telling the story is clearly one of care, because a lot of the stakeholders in the making of the story themselves, regardless of who these men are, these actors are in their private lives, a lot of the other stakeholders in the telling of this story are gay themselves, and publicly so. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, if the director and the producer and the casting office has gay men in there, and they say, like, who the fuck is everybody else to say no? Right? Stakeholders inside of the community came together to produce this, and chose these two people as the most appropriate vessels to tell this story. So hey, there's like bickering there, but I don't think that I don't know how much I can knock down on these two actors. The last thing is that, goddamn, Jordan Firstman, your boss, the person who like created the show that you're acting right now, is Rachel Sennett. Rachel Sennett was in Bottoms as fuck, gay as fuck in Bottoms. It's a gay ass movie, lesbians, sapphic ass movie. And she's not gay at all. So is it cool when you cash a check? Like, what's good? I watched Bottoms on a plane. It's a great movie. I love that movie. I love Rachel Sennett. And I guess during that entire movie, I didn't feel the need to poke and prod who the fuck she was in her personal life. That's just me. There's also a parallel here. There's also a parallel here in terms of course, like the autism, right? Like, no one's really interrogating this actor about the authenticity of his portrayal of autism. But then also there's another parallel where, like, do black roles only go to black people who come from the diasporically appropriate places for those roles? Oh, brother, you know what I mean? Cynthia Erivo, can she play Harriet Tubman or not? Daniel Kaluuya, can he play Hedda Frampton or not? And I mean, the thing there is that those people are very real historical people. So maybe there's an increased argument, I guess. And maybe people are upset because Cynthia Erivo has some fucked up tweets about black Americans in particular. And that is fucked up. I'm not in I don't believe it. Because again, I'm anti-surveillance. So I'm like, okay, you tweeted some weird shit 10 years ago. That's okay. How weird was it? My camera overheated. I don't remember what I was saying. But anyway, let's move on from that. Whatever I was saying, let's move on from that. I think that what Jordan Firstman was saying, I think that people have a problem with how he said it and who he is and whatever. I don't think that what he was saying was completely invalid. Like, I understand the core, like the root of what he was trying to incite, and he did indeed incite. And also I'm identifying that, like, the stan culture, the obsession, even the fact that it got a 100 on IMDb, right? Like, people are really showing up for this show and are really identifying with these actors, not just the characters, but the actors outside of the show as well. I just think, Jordan, that was a bee's nest and you kicked it, but I get the root of what he was saying, even if I don't necessarily agree 100%. I think that there is a constructive conversation to be had around that question. And the question comes up so often, in particular around shows, queer forward shows that have to do around, like, closeted identity. I feel like it's always like, geez, it's like Heartstoppers, Heated Rivalry, Hollywood. Y'all remember Hollywood with Ryan Murphy? Hollywood. And then, like, Fellow Travelers, another Jonathan Bailey classic. You know what I mean? Things like that. And this is why no more I'm in the closet and it's so hard type shit. I want to see gay people power up and save the world. That's why I like Steven Universe so bad. Come on, Steven Universe. 2 Steven Universe references in one episode, baby. Come on, I didn't even charge you for it. I didn't even charge you for it. I did that for free out the kindness of my heart. Because I love you. I care about you. I think that's that on that, and we're at time on that. I just want to rapid fire some thoughts that I have in the last 10. Firstly, episode 4, when they are having sex, Hollander and Romanoff. In episode 4, when they're having sex, and they use each other's first names for the first time as they nut. And goddamn, Hollander gets weird after that, and he's like, "Well, I can't stay. I gotta go." Chef's kiss. It actually reminded me of a lot of anime, because in anime, using the first name versus the last name. You know what I mean? That's just like something that they do in the culture quite frequently. And it is, and it is, and it is, and it is a communication about two people's relationship, which name they choose to use, first name or last, the intimacy, the proximity between those two people. So them being like, Shane, Ilya. And that's exactly how they sound because they're straight. No, I'm joking. And then he's like, whoa, that was way too much. You used my first name. I gotta go. Love that. Love that. Love that storytelling. Love that storytelling. Let's keep that pushing. Let's keep that pushing. Shane's girlfriend, who is a movie star that he meets at the bar, do not care for what they're doing with her whatsoever. And it actually might be so on the nose. It actually might be the perfect representation of something of a type of person that I just don't like as like, so I'm a New York actor, right? I'm a New York theater person. I'm a New York artsy person. And this woman playing the role of a girl who went to the University of Michigan for 2 years and then dropped out right before her junior year because she got cast in a Netflix original opposite Noah Centineo. I know exactly who this is. Can't stand that girl. Can't stand that girl. Right? Her being like, having fries, Shane Hollander. Fucking kill me. Her being like, Shane Hollander, 8 years old, paint me a picture. Why did you write it like that? This is gonna kill me, dude. I love her character's actions. I love the choices that her character makes. I like the function that her character serves in the show. Do not like the way that they're executing it because it gives me the heebie-jeebies. It gives me heebie-jeebies. It gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't like that. And she also has a friend in the show that they go to the club with. She texts Shane and is like, hey, come to this club after you finish your game. I'm going to be there. I just want to dance. He's like, don't make me dance. She's like, I promise I won't. He says, liar, heart reaction. That's the way that they're doing texting in this show also. I am actually super interested in that. Like, I love the different ways that shows represent people using cell phones and like how you show like texting as a medium of communication. It's kind of like a couple years ago, I watched a really brilliant video essay about sound design in Harry Potter and like how interesting it is to be in a room where someone is like, okay, what do you think a Patronus sounds like? That's a great question. I'd never even thought of something like that. And how would I build something like that from scratch? Anyway, them texting, he meets them at the club. They're at a little table. Ilya Romanov ends up at the same club with his teammates. And then there is a friend that Rose has. He's one of the only black men. He's one of the only black men, dark-skinned black men in the entire series. In the 5-6 hours that we've been watching this show and following these characters in this world. And he, for some reason, he's also queer, openly so, unlike the other characters in the show, but he has like a very outward, unabashed, dare I say, knock on wood, microaggression, aggressive sexuality. Like he is openly flirting with Shane in front of his girlfriend, and Shane to him is for all that he knows a straight man. And it's like weird that I don't know. I just thought that the way they use that, I'm just like, I'm like, this is the only dark skinned man on the entire show. He might be the only dark skinned person in the entire show type shit. You get what I'm saying? And so I'm like, why is he so overtly like on the sexual prowl? He tries to make an advance on Shane. He tries to make an advance on Ilya at the bar. Like he like waves. It's not explicitly a sexual advance, but like that's the vibe that I get as an adult viewer. Also knowing what I've known about him for the first 30 seconds that he's been on screen, I'm like, oh, okay, like he clocks T. He sees that boy's, got eyes, whatever. And he makes an advance. No one's paying him any mind. And then eventually he comes back to dance with Shane and Rose. They're dancing together. And then he ends up behind Shane. He's like pressing up against Shane, looking like he's about to like kiss Shane on the neck. And I'm like, wait, why would you be up on Shane about to seemingly kiss him on the neck when he is, for all you know, a straight person? He's trying to pass as a straight person, and he knows that there are other people who are in his industry, essentially his coworkers, are in this bar. It just was a lot. And I was like, oh, well, they're going to do something with this. And then they didn't do anything with it except for being like, well, that's Rose's gay friend, and he wants to fuck Shane. in general, I thought it was like, what was that? Like, I just thought that it was like maybe an unfruitful handling of it. But in particular, to cast that role as like the only dark skinned man in the entire show, let alone the only dark skinned person in the entire show, from what I can remember, I was like, this is weird. That was weird. Unfortunately, the thing that I said about Scott and Kip also applies to Ilya and Shane. I get that by the point are at in episode 5, they do really, really like each other. That's not a question to me still at this point. I do believe that they do like each other. It's clear that they do. I also just don't understand why and how we got here so quickly. I feel like that episode 1 build up to their sexual tension and romance is just like, do you guys happen to know that you're just both gay in the same place at the same time, and there's an inherent attraction there, and so you just go for it? The most unrealistic part of this entire show actually is how vulnerable these people are. Let me tell you something. They just go for it. They're like, I like, everyone says I like you. There's pushback here and there and here and there and here and there, but like, given the circumstance, everyone is opening up their hearts to romance. Give me your heart, Bella. Give me your heart. Everyone is opening their hearts quite quickly and easily. And I appreciate that as someone who, I like, baby, my heart is always open. Am I right or am I right? Hey, come on in. It's warm in there. You know what I mean? But I just know that that's not how the world works, especially when you're like autistic and in the closet, and like very public. Anyway. The thing that I love though is that I love their dynamic. I love the contrast actually in their characters between Shane and Ilya. I think that like Ilya being quick, witty, sharp, across the language barrier, so on and so forth, and just like kind of lasered in all the time. He kind of always has like this kind of lasered in wit about him, right? And Shane being a different texture of person, he seems a bit like he's more reserved. It takes him a bit more, like he always needs to ask a follow-up question. It's the autism. He needs to ask a follow-up question. He doesn't get the innuendo. He needs an explanation. You know what I mean? Like, I think that the contrast between those two characters and how they show up to each other is fucking awesome. I think it builds for a great dynamic. But more than anything, I love the part of this that reminds me of Bridgerton season 2. These two individuals are not fighting against each other, and they're not fighting against the truth of how they feel for each other for the sake of the relationship. They're fighting it for the sake of the socio-political context in which they exist. You know what I'm saying? Bridgerton season 2 is about two people who have larger obligations than their love. The most radical act of love that they can do is the love that it takes to choose themselves and to choose their own happiness over those socio-political obligations. You know what I'm saying? For Anthony Bridgerton to choose to prioritize his own long-term happiness, his own satisfaction, his own whatever, over his siblings that he spent his entire life like building a future for after the passing of his father, right? Shimon Ashley's character is choosing to be selfish for once in her life, and the havoc that it causes, them choosing to be selfish by loving each other, the havoc that it causes, the destruction that it causes, the mayhem that it causes, that is the intrigue of the show. And it is through loving each other that they can love themselves. That, to me, that type of like socio-political web, that's the kind of romance that I want to see. Not like, oh, well, all of our friends know that we like each other. Everyone knows that we like each other. Everyone's making jokes about how we like each other, but we just can't like each other. Get that shit off my screen. I don't give a fuck about that. I do not give a fuck about that. But we love each other so deeply and the forces of the universe are keeping us apart. I want that. I want that bad. And that's what I see in Shane and Ilya, two young men who clearly want to be with each other, but the context in which they exist is the obstacle in the way. And it is only through the radical self-acceptance that is what they have to overcome and buy into before they can choose to be together publicly. Which is why Scott Hunter's arc is so important, so they can see that representation does in fact matter. Hey. Wow. That's the final kernel, guys. I'm enjoying the show. I like it. I'm excited to watch the season finale. What do you guys think? The world did need more gay erotica for Christmas. I think that was important for us in this climate. Anyway, listen, my name is Woodland Pureville. This has been 10 at a time, the short long form show. If you're enjoying it, like, subscribe, share with a friend, clip it, make an edit of me on TikTok. You probably don't have enough clips for that yet, but maybe a compilation. Oh God, I can't wait to get to the point where maybe I have a compilation I shouldn't ask for these things explicitly. That's kind of corny. I'm going to cut this from the show because I want it to happen organically. Anyway, if you really love the show, you can also check it out on Spotify and Apple Music, and show support by leaving a comment, subscribing over there, rating the show. That all of the different things that you can click and push and drop and send and share will support me. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Bye.